How many of you heard about Reach Week? Anybody hear about Reach Week? Let me tell you, it was unbelievable. And Keith, I didn't even think to have the video play tonight. Do you guys have the video? Yeah. So if you were here on time, you saw the video. I was ministering to somebody somewhere. Sorry. Wow, that just stole all the thunder. I was going to tell you there was 1,100 volunteers. Who even knew that? And you all would be like, we did. We saw it on the video. Okay. All right. So what was phenomenal, if you got to go work, because the passage we're going to look at tonight, I always feel like coming off of Reach Week, man, the sermon kind of needs to be the exclamation point of everything that happened and everything took place. And I want to thank everybody that was a part of that, that worked. And, and we might have had different experiences. It reminds me, man, when my kids were little, one of the things I tried to teach them, have you ever met anybody that's ungrateful? Whew. I don't know about you all, but there's not a whole lot more than that makes me sick. There's somebody that's not grateful. So I did this thing with my kids when they were little because I wanted them to be grateful. And so I taught them, and here's why, because my dad did this to me, right? And it all culminated one year when I was 16, and one of my grandparents got me a gift, and when I opened it up, it was 4 handkerchiefs with my initials on them. I don't know what you longed for when you were 16. And I remember opening them up, and I wasn't sure what they were. I had sleeves. I didn't need handkerchiefs, right? And I'm just kind of looking at them, and my dad just hits me in the back of the head. Now, it felt like it was a full, one of those, and I'm sure it was just this tap. But it about knocked me unconscious. And he hit my head, and like in one single motion, I went down and came up and said, "Oh my gosh, who told you?" JW, handkerchiefs. Thank you so much, right? And so I teach my kids, I don't care what they give you. It's the thing you've longed for your entire childhood. And you'll make them feel that way. So much so, I don't know how your families are, but there's a lot of pressure at Christmas when you open something up. And you don't want it. It's horrible. You're wondering if the person who's known you for 30, 40, 50 years, if they really even know you. Anyone? I've had people give me UK sports stuff. Not as a joke. Because in all their decades of knowing me, they missed. Not that I'm just from Ohio, but that I really like Ohio State. But they give it to you and you're like, wow. And I can say with all integrity, I don't have one. I've never had one, and now I do. Thank you, right? So I got a lot of stories. So it reminds me one year at the oil change. We had a lady come to the oil change, and her car didn't have reverse. And I couldn't remember if it was a Harold, if it was a flathead, or a Phillips screwdriver that she used to start the car. There's 3 car seats in the back, 1 car seat in the front. And we're always like, hey, is there anything we need to know about your car? And she's like, oh, yeah, it doesn't have reverse. She wasn't asking that we get it reverse. She's just letting us know, be careful where you take it, because you're not going to be able to back up. And I asked her, I said, how do you do that? She goes, oh, you really have to think about where you're going, Well, somebody had donated a van to the church. And so I told her, I don't know if it was Harold or Billy Lowe, I said, man, what can we do for this woman? And they said, get her a new car. With all of Harold's mechanical wisdom, I thought there was a button or something and you'd have reverse. There's not. apparently. And somebody donated a van. And I was so excited, and I wanted it to be this big surprise. And I told her, I said, is there any way you could, come to the church Monday and, and let's talk about, your car? And she's like, yeah, I think I can do that. So, man, we got the van vacuumed, washed. It looked great, so she comes, and we meet her out in the what is that? The parking lot, thank you. We meet her in the parking lot, as opposed to the road and I just hold up some keys and I said, how about this van? And I give her the keys and there's just, there wasn't a lot of emotion or anything. And so she gets in it, and she's looking, she adjusts the rearview mirror and she goes, oh, are y'all going to fix the crack in the rearview mirror? I just wanted to pull her out by her hair and give that van to the next person that just was walking down Nashville Road, And it made me sick. So much so that I told her, no, we're not going to be fixing it. And apparently you don't need one anyway because you've been driving out without reverse for, years. So, you'll be fine with your cracked. I didn't say that, by the way. Oh, but I was thinking it. And, man, I just went back to my office, and I was just so disappointed. And I felt robbed. And just all day long it bothered me, and I was trying to think, when something bothers you really bad, you need to figure out where it's coming from. Or you don't need to, because it's going to take you to a place that doesn't show you what's wrong with that person. It's going to take you to a place that shows you what's wrong with you. And I realized what she robbed me of. I wanted her to say, Pastor Jamie, could you be more wonderful? And I'd be like, no, I can't. I'm awesome, and that's what it was. That's what bothered me. Because first of all, this glory that belongs to God, I wanted a little bit. And somehow, and listen, if before she got there, you'd have accused me of any of this, I'd have told you were crazy. But that's what was happening with me. This moment that belonged to God. I wanted some of that. And I know at this point this sounds like the anti-grateful sermon. It's not, I promise. But something in that whole interaction robbed me of something, but that's what it was. Because what really, really bothered me was this moment for, her to talk. First of all, I didn't even donate the van. It wasn't mine. Somebody else gave that van, right? I didn't vacuum it. I didn't clean it. Other people did that. I didn't have the sole authority to say, we're going to give her this van. I don't have that kind of authority. It was a group of people that made the decision. But as a pastor, I got to be the one that had the keys and give them to her. And I just had this expectation about what that would look like. And so the passage we're going to listen to briefly, I don't think it means what everybody else thinks it means. I tried to find some theologians and ancient historians that would agree with me. I couldn't, which always can mean nobody else has said it because you're wrong. I didn't bring my glasses. But I want you to listen to this. Luke chapter 17, beginning around the middle. On the way to Jerusalem, he was passing along between Samaria and Galilee. And as he entered a village, he was met by 10 lepers who stood at a distance. I'm going to go back and forth to this story. Has anybody ever given you something that you didn't deserve? Because I was so critical of this woman You know that much, much later, like not a few minutes later, but months later, as I thought about it, what I had identified as ungratefulness may have just been a sense of an overwhelming sense for her. You know, I don't know. Maybe she's just ungrateful. But maybe she was so overwhelmed and she didn't know what to say. Anybody ever have that experience? Where somebody did something for you that was unimaginable? Maybe somebody had a grace and a mercy for you that you know you didn't deserve, but they did it anyway. You know, maybe that's what's going on here, right? Because here are these 10 lepers, and the Bible lets us know something about them specifically, and that is that they're standing at a distance. Now, there's some obvious reasons they're standing at a distance, but I think there's some internal reasons they're standing at a distance. And so all of us, I'm going to say probably most of us, we've had those seasons of life where we stood at a distance. One, they're at a distance because they have a highly contagious disease. And so the society in which they lived had already decided that there would be legal ramifications if they didn't keep themselves at a distance. And so they knew that they had to do that, right? Internally, it's not just that they're standing at a distance because the law required that, but it's also nobody wanted them around them, right? Some, it's because they didn't want to catch a disease. But I'd say for most, it's because they felt that they were better than those people, you know? So here are these lepers, and they're standing at a distance. Obviously, somewhere along their journey, they heard about Jesus. And they heard about what he had done. I was watching a show about this faith healer somewhere in Asia, and people from all over the world go to this guy. And I was watching this documentary about it, and it was, I mean, to watch it, it was just bizarre, you know? And my first thought watching it is, who would do that? Right? And you know, and I say that because as far as I know, I don't have any kind of life-threatening disease. I haven't got any kind of call from a doctor that says, hey, there's what you have, there's no cure for it. Because the more I thought about it, I thought, I might end up there. Or your kid gets sick, and everybody here says there's nothing can be done. I may be buying plane tickets to Asia, you know? So here they are, and somehow we know they've heard about Jesus, because what happens in this moment is the Bible says that they lifted up their voices saying, Jesus, Master, have mercy on us. And the Bible says when he saw them, he said to them, go and show yourselves to the priest. And as they went, they were cleansed. And then one of them, when he saw that he was healed, turned back, praising God with a loud voice. And he fell on his face at Jesus' feet, giving him thanks. And the Bible wants us to know, now he was a Samaritan. And Jesus answered, were not 10 cleansed? Where are the 9? Was no one found to return and give praise to God except this foreigner? And he said to him, rise and go your way. Your faith has made you well. So when I typically hear the sermon, you know, it's like that the main point is about the ungratefulness of the 9 lepers, right? But I think there are 2 things far more powerful than that. One, obviously, is the one leper who came back, right? I mean, it's what I wanted to teach my kids. Be so grateful. Be so thankful. If people, you know, try to bless you, and let's say this, if they try to bless you and they fail, has anybody ever tried to bless you and failed? Be grateful. I mean, at the end of the day, you know what? It's about the heart. When I try to bless somebody, you know why that is? Even if I fail, it's because I love them. my wife had all these spices. And I just wanted to bless her because she had spices. They were all over the place. So I found a spice rack that goes on the inside of your cabinet door. And I was so excited. If any of you think I'm making this up, Harold Bellender knows what I'm talking about. He saw it. And I got this spice rack. Man, I open up that cabinet. I get that spice rack on the door and zzz, 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 put all the shelves on it, put the spices on it. I'm so excited. I shut it. I walk away, and I said, hey, I want to show you something. After she gets home, when we get to to the door, and I said, I want you to open that up. And she goes, why are those 4 screws coming out the front of it? I didn't even see it. Because I was just so excited. I just want her to know I thought about her today. And I've thought about how I could make her life easier. And I'm going to put that spice rack up for her, and that's going to give her some room. She's going to know where her spices are. It's great. And we get there, and and she says, why are those screws coming out there? And I was like, so you can hang stuff on them. I couldn't even admit I failed. I think one day I even hung something off the screw, a little thing that says my husband knows what he's doing or something like that. So you know what? I tried to bless her, and it was a fail, right? And she was so gracious. He's like, she's been married to me for almost 25 years. This isn't the first thing that I screwed through we've had a lot of these kind of moments. I'm like, hey, I can get a spice rack. No. We're good. But, because it's the heart. But, man, that we would be grateful. To me, that's the second most powerful thing about this passage. That we would just be a grateful people, Man, and I want that for my kids. I want them to be grateful and thankful. And, man, I thank God anytime I take one of my boys and we'll go grab lunch or something, I'll buy. And almost every time those boys will say, thanks, Dad. And that means a lot to me. Now, I understand I beat that into them for a lot of years, but that's such a powerful thing that we'd be a grateful and thankful people. And there's no doubt in this passage, that's one of the points of it. Because I look and I don't know that I'm always grateful. You know what I found out when we gave that woman the van? I was so mad at her ungratefulness that I failed to see that I was as ungrateful as she was, that God gave her a van. She's not the only one that could be grateful for that. I could have been. And when I stand before God about the gratefulness of the van, he's not even going to mention her. He's not even going to bring her up. Because when we found her car, Harold will tell you this, when we found her car, all of us wanted to do something for her. And we didn't know, we weren't sure what to do. And God just makes a way. And I had an opportunity to be grateful that God did that for her, but I felt justified not being grateful because she wasn't. Man, that we would just be a grateful people. Man, I mess up all the time. Thank you. But man, we can be grateful. Can't we? We can be grateful. But let me tell you something. And so you may disagree with this. Because I said that leper's gratefulness is the second most powerful thing. There's something to me that one is the point of the passage. Because we don't know what happened to the 9 lepers, do we? In my humanity, I'd like to think that they're somewhere partying because they don't have leprosy anymore, and all of a sudden, boom, it comes back. Do you know how judgmentally you're looking at me right now? Anybody else think that? just boom, give it back to them, right? Let their arm fall off while they are partying, you know. We don't know what happened, but I'm going to tell you what I think, and this will be just me. You know, the Bible doesn't tell us this. So what I'm about to tell you, I can't say thus saith the Lord. It's just what I think. I think they remained healed. Because the most powerful part of this story is God's mercy. And I think it's powerful because of this. You know, I believe that God knows everything. Everything, right? Which makes our salvation even that much more miraculous. Of course, God knew the mistakes I made before I got saved. And that's pretty remarkable that He'd saved me after all of that. But He knew the mistakes I would make after He saved me. And He saved me anyway. When Jesus says, "Where are the other 9?" Listen, anytime Jesus asks a question, He's not looking for your revelation. He doesn't think that you have an answer that He doesn't know. He knows where they are, but before He healed them, He knew where they would be. The story's not about their ungratefulness. It's about His mercy. And you know what Reach Week was for a whole lot of people? It was mercy. Right? It was a way for them to experience the hands and the feet of Jesus, and for a lot of people, in a very, very practical way. It was handing a meal to somebody, right? And for them, it was mercy. Working on people's houses, it was mercy. I don't want you to miss that, and I wanted to share that with you tonight. That every time I hear this passage preach, it's about those 9 ungrateful people, and the punchline at the end of the sermon is, don't be like that. But if you preach it that way, you can just about leave Jesus out of the story. If you preach it that way, man, that's just kind of like a humanist philosophy. But the point of the story is the mercy of God. And the folks that we were able to minister to this past week, in whatever degree that they experienced that mercy, we've experienced it too. We've experienced it too, right? What's powerful is when you look and you see God's mercy, and He pours it into you through somebody else. Man, isn't that powerful? When He does that, when He works it, it's still His mercy. Everybody got me? It's still His mercy. And my encouragement to us is that we'd be willing to have God pour His mercy on someone else through us. Because that's powerful, you know? And I do think part of what's happening here is if you're not grateful, you're probably not going to be willing to be a vessel through which mercy is poured. And just to be grateful, thankful, you know, understanding, you know, that when somebody's trying to bless you, and even if they're not doing it the way you want, isn't it frustrating when people bless you in a way that you wish it was a little different? Man, we can just be thankful. You know, because I'm telling you, that's how I want my kids to be. And one of the things I found in parenting, it's hard to raise grateful kids if you're not grateful. And my kids have heard me complain about a lot. Some of you, they've heard me complain about you. But when I think about God's mercy, if you're a believer, when you think about God's mercy, man, it just has a way of making us grateful. Father, we come to you tonight. And Lord, we thank you for your mercy. I think about some of the meals that were served this week. And I think about how thankful it made me, because there were seasons in my life when somebody brought me groceries. I didn't tell anybody that we needed food. I didn't tell anybody we were struggling. And somebody showed up with a bag of groceries. Think about some of the people we helped financially. And I remember needing medicine for my kid. And I didn't have the money for it. And somebody gave me money. So I pray tonight that just for this moment, we don't think of ourselves as the givers, but we think of ourselves as the recipients of mercy, because all of us have been there. So Lord, I pray we be a grateful people. People that say thanks. People that say, I appreciate you. I appreciate what you've done. Because if we'll do that, we will be much better givers. We love you, Lord. It's in your name we pray. Let's stand together, church. This altar is open tonight. Let me invite you to come.